Students, good morning everybody. Hope you are okay today. Today we are starting a new lesson, third intermediate, fourth unit. It's 4C. The title is What's an Experience? Today we are dealing with a very important issue about verb tenses. We have the past simple and the past continuous. To make it clear for you, let's start with a new text. It's a short one. So I'm going to read it for you. While reading, try to circle the verbs. You are given a choice between two verbs, like the first one, cooking, cooked. So Mr. Lowe was cooking or cooked, so you are going to choose between the two verbs. The meal when his wife arrived from work. Everything was or be a mess. The dog had come in and was running around the house. The baby was crying because he felt hungry. Caroline, their daughter, was tidying up her room, while Jim, their son, was listened to very loud music. Mr. Lowe's father-in-law was sleeping in his bedroom, while Jane was trying to wake him up. And guess what? When Mr. and Miss Lowe were got ready for dinner, the doorbell and the phone started ringing. Mr. Lowe wanted to run away. So here we are going to read it again and circle the right choice. Let's start. Mr. Lowe was cooking, so we choose the first choice, cooking, because the verb was cooking. The meal when his wife arrived from work. Everything was a mess. The dog had come in and was running around the house. The baby was crying because he felt hungry. Caroline, their daughter, was tidying up her room, while Jim, their son, was listening to very loud music. Mr. Lowe's father-in-law was sleeping in his room, while Jane was trying to wake him up. And guess what? When Mr. and Mrs. Lowe were getting ready for dinner, the doorbell and the phone started ringing. Mr. Lowe wanted to run away. So here we have again to focus on the verbs that we chose before. Mr. Lowe was cooking, so the whole verb tense was cooking. Here we are going to choose between two tenses, past continuous and past simple. Verbs in the past continuous will be written in this circle, and past simple, of course, in the second one. So let's start. So the first one, Lowe was cooking. Lowe was cooking. The meal when his wife arrived from work. Everything was. So we don't have another verb plus ing, so was here stands as a simple past, was. The dog had come and was running as past continuous. Was running around the house. The baby was crying. Here we have also a verb in the past continuous, was crying. Because he felt is the past tense of the verb to feel, felt. Hungry. Caroline, their daughter, was tidying. Was tidying. Together we get past continuous. Was tidying. Tidying up her room while their son was listening. Was listening. Was listening to very loud music. Mr. Lowe's father-in-law was sleeping. Was sleeping. Was sleeping in his bedroom while Jane was trying. Was trying to wake him up. And guess what? When Mr. and Miss Lowe's were getting with the plural, so we get were. All the previous ones was simple past plus verb plus ing, so this is the past continuous verb. So were getting, you know, it's here, it's double T, getting. We're getting ready for dinner. The doorbell and the phone started, which is a simple past. Started ringing. Mr. Lowe wanted. So here we get a collection, wanted to run away. Here we get a collection of verbs in the past continuous and verb in the simple past. You notice here that the past simple is simply a verb plus ed for regular verbs. For others, of course, it's complete change. Verb, most of them, we have verb plus ed. Past continuous, so we have was singular and were for plural plus verb plus ing. This is the rule for past continuous. Let's move now to the second step. The second question we have: read the text below and underline the verbs and circle the linkers. So past continuous, we have had an idea about it before, and past simple. What's new now is linkers. You notice here we are going to do the same like this. So underline the verbs and circle the linkers. Linkers, they link between two sentences. Mr. Lowe was cooking the meal. So the first verb was cooking. We underlined it. The meal. When. When is a linker. When his wife arrived, which is a verb in the simple past. Everything was a mess. The dog had come and was running around the house. The baby was crying because he felt hungry. Caroline, their daughter, was tidying up her room. While is a linger. Jim, their son, was listening to very loud music. Mr. Lowe's father-in-law was sleeping in his bedroom while Jane was trying to wake him up. And guess what? When Mr. and Miss Lowe were getting ready for dinner, the doorbell and the phone started ringing. Mr. Lowe was impatient and he wanted. So let's fill in these blanks. The first one, we have lots of linkers in this paragraph. So, sorry for the felt is a verb, so we underline it. It's not a linker. For linkers, so we have when, we have because, we have while, and we have also when, because, while, and we have also the word and as a linker. And as for past simple and past continuous, so let's start with the first sentence. Mr. Lowe was cooking is a verb in the past continuous. Was cooking the meal when his wife arrived, which is the simple past, from work. Everything was a mess. Was. The dog had come in and was running. Was running. The baby was crying. Was crying. Because it's a linker, because he felt, is a simple past, he felt hungry. Their daughter was tidying. Was tidying. Their daughter was tidying up her room while Jim, their son, was listening. Was listening to very loud music. Mr. Low's father-in-law was sleeping. While Jim, their son, was listening. So Mr. Lowe was sleeping in his bedroom while Jane was trying to wake him up, and guess what? Mr. Lowe were getting ready. So all of these, we saw them earlier in the previous task. The doorbell and the phone started as simple past. Started to ring, and Mr. Lowe was impatient. Was, we mentioned it, and so he wanted it, which is a simple past verb. Now we are going to have a look at this task as a reading comprehension. We have some questions about the passage. Mr. Lowe was cooking the meal when his wife arrived from work. Now we have a question about this at the first, so read in task number 3, read the text again and answer the following. What was Mr. Lowe doing when his wife arrived from work? So when his wife arrived from work, we have indication that the answer is in the first part, in this first sentence. So what was Mr. Lowe doing? Mr. Lowe was cooking the meal when his wife arrived from work. We can make it short answer. We say that Mr. Lowe was, and you can write it even, Mr. Lowe was cooking the meal when his wife arrived from work. Why was the baby crying? The baby crying. So what the baby was crying, why? The answer for this question should be because he felt hungry. So we can start with because he felt hungry. The baby was crying because he felt hungry. So what was Jim doing? What was Jim doing? This is Jim, their son. What was Jim doing? Jim was listening to very loud music. So we can't say Jim, or we say he was listening, and here we use the past continuous tense. He was listening to very loud music. To very loud music. Here we get very concise answer, and we answer the questions up to the point. So we do not need to write extra information that we may not need. So in the last question, who was impatient? And who, here we are asking about the person who was impatient. From these characters from the text, who was impatient? So the key word here is the word impatient. Impatient, we found it in the last line. Mr. Lowe was impatient, so he wanted to run away. So what information we need here is simply to answer who was impatient. We can't simply say Mr. Lowe, and it's capital, was impatient. If we mention even the person, Mr. Lowy, and full stop, that will be correct. Thank you very much. I hope things are clear, and see you next time.